Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss X2, X-Men United, starring Patrick Stewart, Hugh Jackman, Halle Berry, Ian McKellen, Famke Janssen, James Marsden, Anna Paquin, Rebecca Romijn Stamos? Well, we'll talk about that next week. Brian Cox, Alan Cumming, and Bruce Davison, and directed by Bryan Singer. Now, I remember seeing this back in the theaters, maybe a couple of times. And what did I think of it then? Well, it's about to be the same as what I'm about to think about now. Let's get into it. We started off with Kurt Wagner, aka Nightcrawler, played by Alan Cumming? What are you doing here? In the White House attacking the President of the United States of America's Secret Service in order to get to the President. Of his mind was taken over by William Stryker, played by Brian Cox, which will get explained later in the film. As for the action sequence, I really liked the pacing of it. It made the scene look epic. Logan, returned by Hugh Jackman, is looking for answers of his origin and finds a wolf in the mountain, and I'm liking Hugh Jackman as Wolverine better this time. We move on to a museum when we find Storm, returned by Halle Berry, Jean Grey, returned by Famke Janssen, and Cyclops, returned by James Marsden, teaching the students at the Xavier School about the wildlife. Meanwhile, Rogue, returned by Anna Paquin, Bobby, aka Iceman, returned by Shawn Ashmore, and yes, he was in last week's film. John, aka Pyro, played by Aaron Stanford, causes trouble at the food court, and Professor X, returned by Patrick Stewart, pauses the world. And I had fun with that scene. I like the fact that he could pause the world for at least the amount of time. Stryker and Lady Deathstrike, played by Kelly Hu, meet Senator Kelly, returned by Bruce Davison, disguised as by Mystique, returned by Rebecca Romijn Stamos at the time, to find out Magneto, returned by Ian McKellen, is going to get some of Stryker's poison. Logan comes back to the school and babysits the place until Stryker comes in to attack. All that is going on is very epic, and I'm caring for the X-Men and Magneto and Mystique much better than last time when it got so bizarre. But here, this is more epic than last week. Jean and Storm capture the Nightcrawler and take him back to the Professor. Meanwhile, the attack at the school has ended, and Logan recognizes Stryker but can't remember what he did to him, which will grow easier and easier as the film progresses. And I'm enjoying these scenes because they're very exciting, and I love how we get a brief glance of Colossus, which I'll get to more of when I get to the Deadpool films. He may be the weakest character in this movie, but luckily he's not in it much, and neither is Cyclops. Logan and Rogue, Iceman, and Pyro steal Cyclops' car, and Pyro doesn't like uncomfortable silences, and as he puts on in syncs, bye, bye, bye. And I thought, oh my god, that's hysterical in a cringe-worthy kind of way. Professor X and Stryker's son Jason is very depressing. It's just a very depressing scene. And these scenes, not only did I feel bad for Patrick Stewart, but Jason's story told by William is tragic. Logan, Rogue, Iceman, and Pyro get to Boston in Iceman's house and meets his mom and dad and his brother Ronnie. And I love their pet cat. That was the funniest thing in this movie. Magneto escapes, which is good effects, and I like the visual and special effects. I don't like Iceman's brother Ronnie. He's just so pathetic because he calls the cops and gets Pyro to attack them, and Logan was lying there dead until Rogue heals him, which was rather bizarre to me. The only bizarre thing about the film, by the way. Jean and Storm meet up with Logan and the trio kids and are asked to fly to 20,000 feet and get attacked by the government jets, and two missiles come at them. One hits them, one hit Jean controls one with her Phoenix powers until Magneto catches them and teams up, which was a great and epic moment of the film. Mystique makes it in the Dam disguised as Wolverine and beats up all Stryker's men and makes it in Magneto and Mystique go to the Cerebro that Stryker built for Professor X so he can find all the mutants and kill them all. Not Magneto, but Stryker. Jean goes with them briefly until Cyclops attacks Jean. Storm and Nightcrawler get all the kids out of Stryker's captivity, and Logan finds Stryker and has a brutal fight with Lady Deathstrike. And this is all very fast-paced, and I'm digging it. And Pyro leaves the X-Men to join Magneto's Brotherhood of Evil in a helicopter after Magneto changes Cerebro from finding the mutants to finding the humans. And Wolverine strangles Stryker with chains, and Magneto hangs him not on the neck, but on the dam to stuff a cat. To suffocate him. In the water, the X-Men regroup and grab Professor X, and they get out of there. All of them except for Jean Grey, who gets ran over by the dam water and dies while protecting her friends and becomes the Phoenix, which was rather sad, but that entire sequence was awesome. The X-Men with Professor X visit the President and reason with him about who was killing the mutants and wants peace with him. And Wolverine doesn't care who he is, and that sends a good message. It ends with the Phoenix rising underwater, which will set up something incredible until we get to next week's movie. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 8.4 out of 10. This is much better, bigger, and more epic than the original film. This movie is fast-paced, and I cared a lot more for the characters than I did in the original. And this is a much more fun movie. Just really great. And I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next week I will be back with X-Men The Last Stand. And until next time...